Jnana Yoga, also known as the path of knowledge, is the pursuit of self-realization through direct self-inquiry. It's not about accumulating intellectual knowledge or memorizing sacred texts, but about piercing through the illusion of the false self to reveal the true essence of being. It challenges you to go beyond the surface of identity and dive into the core question, who am I? This path requires courage and persistence, as it demands the dismantling of deeply ingrained beliefs and egoic attachments. Yet, it's through this fearless inquiry that one discovers the supreme reality, the unchanging self that witnesses all experiences without being tainted by them. One of the most profound aspects of Jnana Yoga is its emphasis on direct experience rather than theoretical understanding. While traditional practices may involve rituals or external devotion, Jnana Yoga insists on turning inward and questioning the very foundation of one's existence. Imagine sitting quietly, letting go of thoughts about the past and future, and simply asking, who am I? Not seeking an intellectual answer, but allowing the question to dissolve into pure awareness. This method doesn't lead to more concepts or ideas. Instead, it strips away illusions, revealing the consciousness that exists beyond identity and form. Unlike other spiritual paths that encourage devotion or meditation techniques, Jnana Yoga demands self-inquiry as the primary tool for awakening. It's a relentless practice of questioning the I thought, which is the ego's way of claiming ownership over experiences and actions. By consistently examining the origin of this I, the seeker peels back the layers of conditioning and discovers that the ego itself is merely a phantom, an illusion created by habitual thought patterns. This realization does not come from intellectual effort, but from an intuitive clarity that emerges when the mind becomes silent and the self shines through. To practice Jnana Yoga effectively, you must be willing to let go of preconceived notions about who you are. Start by questioning every statement that begins with I am. Are you truly the body, the mind, or the emotions you experience? Or are you the witness that observes them all without being affected? This continuous self-inquiry cultivates a state of awareness that is both profound and liberating. You come to see that the true self is not the thinker, but the pure consciousness that observes the thinking. The practice becomes a masterclass in freedom, dismantling the ego's claims of personal doership and replacing them with the serenity of non-dual awareness. The beauty of Jnana Yoga lies in its simplicity. There are no rituals, no dogmas, no complex systems to memorize. Just the pure, raw question, who am I? This question, when asked with sincerity and persistence, cuts through illusions like a blade of truth. You're not trying to craft an answer or construct a new belief system. You're allowing the false self to dissolve, leaving only the supreme reality of consciousness. As the illusion of individuality fades, what remains is pure presence, the state of I am without any attachment to identity. This is the heart of Jnana Yoga, the journey from false self to true self, from illusion to liberation. Chapter 1. Ramana Maharshi's Teachings. Ramana Maharshi revolutionized the practice of Jnana Yoga by stripping it of unnecessary complexity and focusing on the essence of self-inquiry. His teachings weren't built on elaborate rituals or intellectual theories. Instead, they were rooted in the simple yet profound question, who am I? To Maharshi, this inquiry was not just a philosophical exercise, but a direct path to self-realization. He emphasized that the mind's natural tendency is to wander outward, attaching itself to objects, thoughts, and identities. The practice of self-inquiry, however, reverses this tendency, guiding the seeker inward to the very source of consciousness. What made Ramana Maharshi's approach revolutionary was his insistence on practical realization over theoretical understanding. He didn't encourage lengthy debates or intellectual gymnastics. Instead, he invited seekers to turn their attention inward and remain steadfast in questioning the origin of the I thought. He would often say that the I thought is the root of all other thoughts, and by dissolving this root, the entire structure of ego collapses. His presence alone was a testament to the power of this practice, as countless devotees experience profound inner peace simply by being in his presence. One of the most profound teachings of Maharshi was that liberation is not something to be achieved in the future, but realized in the present moment. He consistently pointed out that the self is already free, already pure awareness. The problem lies not in the self, but in the mind's identification with transient phenomena. By persistently questioning the source of the I, the seeker experiences a spontaneous unveiling of truth, where the false I dissolves into the infinite. Maharshi's method did not require complex meditation techniques or devotion to external deities. It was a raw, direct encounter with the reality of existence. Ramana Maharshi often used the analogy of a rope mistaken for a snake. When the light of awareness reveals that it's just a rope, the fear vanishes instantly. Similarly, when the light of self-inquiry exposes the ego as a mere illusion, the fear of suffering dissolves. The seeker realizes that the self has never been bound, never been limited. It's like waking up from a dream of captivity and realizing you are always free. Maharshi's teachings encourage seekers not to waste time intellectualizing or debating, but to immerse themselves in the practice and discover the truth firsthand. To embody Maharshi's teachings, dedicate time each day to sit quietly and ask, "Who am I?" Let the questions sink deep, not as a mental exercise, but as a sincere quest for truth. Whenever thoughts arise, trace them back to the root, I thought, and question its validity. Are you really the body, the mind, or the roles you play? Or are you the silent witness beyond all these layers? This practice, when done with dedication, gradually dissolves the false identity and reveals the true self, pure, unblemished awareness. As Maharshi often said, "Be as you are," for in that state, freedom is not something attained but something realized as ever present. Chapter 2. The I Thought and the Ego. The I Thought is the subtle, yet pervasive seed of the ego, the root of personal identity that claims ownership over thoughts, actions, and experiences. It's the persistent voice that says, "I did this," or "I feel that," creating an illusion of a separate self acting independently. But in truth, this I is nothing more than a mental construct, a false identity arising from habitual patterns of thought and conditioning. Jnana Yoga challenges this illusion by directing the seeker to investigate the nature of the I thought itself, exposing it as a fleeting, impermanent phenomenon that has no real substance. Ramana Maharshi pointed out that the I thought is the first sprout of ego consciousness, the primary wave that gives rise to all other thoughts and perceptions. By fixating on this false identity, one becomes entangled in duality, endlessly chasing desires and avoiding fears. The ego's greatest trick is convincing you that it is who you are, that without it, you'd be lost or non-existent. Yet, through self-inquiry, it becomes apparent that the I thought is merely an imposter, hijacking pure awareness and pretending to be the self. When examined closely, it dissolves like a mirage under the light of direct observation. One practical way to tackle the I thought is to catch it as it arises. For instance, when you think, "I am angry," or "I am happy," pause and ask, who is the I that claims this feeling? Don't settle for surface answers like, "It's me," or "It's my mind." Probe deeper, and notice that the thought itself is transient, appearing and disappearing within your awareness. The true self is the unchanging witness behind the thought, not the thought itself. By consistently practicing this questioning, the attachment to the false I weakens, and a sense of freedom begins to emerge. The ego thrives on association and attachment. It identifies with roles, achievements, failures, and even spiritual progress. But when you investigate its foundation, you find that it's nothing but a collection of memories and habitual reactions. A fictional character claiming to be the doer. In reality, actions happen through the body and mind, but the sense of personal ownership is just a conditioned response. The I thought does not initiate action. It merely claims it afterward. Once this is clearly seen, the ego loses its grip, and a vast sense of peace replaces the restless pursuit of self-importance. To break free from the illusion of the I thought, cultivate the habit of inwardly repeating the question, "Who am I?" whenever the sense of ego arises. Let the question cut through the fog of mental chatter and bring your attention back to the witnessing awareness. Practice this especially during emotionally charged situations, where the ego tends to assert itself most strongly. As the false I loses its dominance, you'll find yourself moving through life with a lighter heart and a clearer mind, no longer bound by the illusion of personal doership. This realization marks the beginning of true inner freedom, a state untouched by pride or guilt, rooted in the purity of self-awareness. Chapter 3. Self-Inquiry Technique. Self-inquiry is the cornerstone of Jnana Yoga, and it revolves around one profound question: who am I? This question is not merely philosophical. It's an existential investigation into the root of all experience. The practice is deceptively simple, but requires unwavering dedication and sincerity. It's not about intellectually analyzing the concept of self, but about piercing through the illusion of identity to uncover the unchanging consciousness that lies beyond thought. By persistently questioning the I thought and tracing it back to its source, you gradually dissolve the illusion of ego and reveal the supreme reality of pure awareness. To practice self-inquiry, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and bring your attention inward. Begin by gently asking, "Who am I?" Don't rush to find an answer. Let the question resonate in your awareness. When thoughts arise, trace them back to their origin. Who is thinking this thought? Who is experiencing this feeling? The goal is not to generate a mental response, but to allow the question to penetrate deeply, bypassing intellectual reasoning and settling into direct experience. You're not looking for answers, you're dismantling assumptions. As you practice, you'll notice that the mind resists this inward turning. It will throw distractions, memories, and emotions your way, but stay anchored in the inquiry. The secret is not to fight thoughts or suppress them, but to remain curious about their origin. If a strong emotion arises, instead of getting caught up in the story behind it, ask, who is feeling this emotion? Stay with the sensation itself, allowing the question to dissolve the attachment. With time and persistence, the habitual identification with thoughts begins to weaken, and you catch glimpses of the silent presence that remains when the false I is absent. One of the most profound shifts that occur through self-inquiry is the realization that the I thought itself is an illusion. It's merely a label the mind attaches to a fleeting sensation of individuality. Once this illusion is seen through, the sense of a separate self crumbles, and what remains is pure, undisturbed awareness. It's like the sky that remains untouched no matter how many clouds pass through. You realize that thoughts, feelings, and perceptions are just passing phenomena in the vast space of consciousness. None of them define or limit your true essence. To sustain the practice of self-inquiry, Integrate it into your daily life. Instead of confining it to formal meditation sessions, carry the question with you throughout the day. When walking, eating, or working, periodically pause and inwardly ask, "Who am I?" Let the question serve as a reminder to detach from the egoic narrative and return to the witnessing state. This continuous contemplation deepens your understanding and keeps you rooted in self-awareness, even amidst life's chaos. Over time, you'll find that your reactions become less charged, your mind more at peace, and your sense of self far more expansive and liberated. Chapter 4. The I Am State. The I Am state is the fundamental realization of pure being, the recognition of existence without attaching labels, thoughts, or identities. It is the most primal experience of consciousness, existing before any concept of self or other. In Jnana Yoga, reaching the I Am state means abiding in the sense of pure presence, undisturbed by the mind's incessant labeling and storytelling. It's the moment where the sense of individuality dissolves, and all that remains is the simple, undeniable awareness of being. This is not a thought or an idea. It's the direct experience of existence itself, beyond duality or separation. Ramana Maharshi often emphasized that the I Am state is not something to be attained but recognized. It's always present, hidden beneath layers of mental noise and identification. To access it, one must quiet the mind and allow awareness to rest in its natural state. The practice is deceptively simple. Whenever thoughts arise, gently return to the feeling of I am without adding any qualifiers. Not I am this or I am that, just the raw, untouched sense of being. This practice doesn't require any specific posture or ritual, just the willingness to let go of concepts and remain in stillness. One practical way to immerse yourself in the I Am state is to begin each morning with a few minutes of silent contemplation. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on the simple awareness that you exist. Let thoughts come and go without engaging with them. Instead of analyzing or interpreting experiences, just rest in the feeling of presence. It might feel subtle at first, almost intangible, but with practice, the sense of I am becomes undeniably clear and vibrant. The more you abide in this state, the more you realize that your true nature is not defined by roles, opinions, or beliefs. It's the ever-present awareness itself. Nisargadatta Maharaj, one of the great masters of Advaita Vedanta, taught that holding on to the I Am is the direct path to self-realization. He insisted that without identifying with thoughts or the body, one should simply dwell in the sense of being. His teachings are a masterclass in stripping away all that is false to reveal the essence of reality. According to him, the I Am is the doorway through which one steps into the realization of the supreme reality. It's not enough to intellectually understand this. One must immerse themselves in the practice until the false identity falls away and only pure awareness remains. To deepen your practice, use the mantra, I Am, as a grounding tool throughout your day. Whenever stress or confusion arises, silently repeat the mantra and let it guide you back to presence. Make it a habit to pause during daily activities, whether washing dishes or walking down the street, and silently affirm your existence with the simple recognition, I am. This practice gradually rewires your consciousness to rest in its natural state rather than being caught up in the ego's endless storytelling. The result is a profound inner calm and an unshakable sense of being rooted in the truth of your existence. Chapter 5. The Unwavering Commitment to the I Am. Nisargadatta Maharaj was a master of direct realization, known for his uncompromising focus on the I Am state as the sole path to self-realization. His teachings cut through the complexities of spiritual practice with a fierce simplicity. Hold on to the sense of I am and reject everything that does not align with it. He didn't entertain philosophical debates or abstract theories. Instead, he encouraged his followers to relentlessly focus on their own existence, discarding every thought, concept, and identity that arose. According to Maharaj, the only real practice is the continuous awareness of being, not as a person or an individual, but as pure consciousness itself. One of Maharaj's core teachings was the necessity of unwavering commitment to the I am state. He taught that everything else, the body, the mind, desires, and fears, are mere distractions, like clouds passing through the sky of awareness. The sky remains untouched, no matter how turbulent the storm. Similarly, your true self remains unaltered despite the constant flow of thoughts and emotions. By holding on to the sense of I am, without identifying with any specific attribute or story, you remain rooted in your true nature. This practice dissolves the illusion of duality and brings about the direct experience of non-dual consciousness. Nisargadatta's approach may seem stark and challenging, but it's precisely this radical simplicity that makes it so powerful. He didn't believe in elaborate rituals or intricate philosophies. He believed in the direct path. To him, the constant repetition of I am was not a mere affirmation, but a portal to the absolute. He encouraged seekers to disregard thoughts and perceptions as temporary and focus solely on the feeling of existence. Whenever distractions arose, his instruction was simple: return to the sense of I am. This consistent practice would eventually erode the ego's stronghold and reveal the vast, unchanging presence that lies beyond identification. A practical way to embody Nisargadatta's teachings is to make the I am practice part of your daily routine. Upon waking, before engaging with the world, sit quietly and feel your own existence. Let the thought, I am, resonate within you, without trying to define or expand upon it. Throughout the day, whenever your mind becomes agitated or scattered, silently repeat, I am, and feel the immediate centering effect. This simple yet profound practice grounds you in presence and strips away the layers of mental clutter that obscure the true self. Over time, it becomes a natural state rather than a deliberate effort. Nisargadatta's mastery was not in the complexity of his words, but in the absolute clarity of his practice. He insisted that seekers must remain vigilant, not allowing the mind to create stories around the I am or turn it into an intellectual concept. Instead, one must live in that state, breathe it, move from it, and let it permeate every aspect of life. It's not about thinking, I am, but about being it, without interference from thoughts or concepts. This dedication leads to the ultimate realization that the self is not an entity, but pure awareness itself, untouched, unchanging, and ever-present. Chapter 6. Progress in Self-Inquiry. Progress in self-inquiry is not marked by grand revelations or mystical experiences, but by subtle, profound shifts in perception. One of the most telling signs is the decreasing intensity and frequency of ego-driven thoughts. As the practice deepens, the mind becomes quieter, and the tendency to identify with fleeting emotions or thoughts diminishes. Instead of being consumed by mental chatter, there's an increasing awareness of the stillness that underlies all activity. You might notice that even in chaotic situations, a calm presence remains untouched, like the eye of a storm. This inner quiet is not forced. It's a natural consequence of realizing that the ego's narrative is just that, a story, not reality. Another sign of progress is the speed with which you catch the false I as it arises. In the beginning, Egoic thoughts can dominate your awareness, dragging you into emotional reactions and mental loops. But as your practice of self-inquiry matures, you begin to spot these tendencies almost immediately. The questioning becomes instinctive. Whenever a thought arises claiming ownership or identity, you automatically ask, "Who is experiencing this?" This quickened response reflects a heightened state of awareness where the ego's grip is significantly weakened. You start to feel less reactive, more grounded, and remarkably resilient in the face of challenges. One of the most beautiful transformations during this journey is the growing appetite for silence and solitude. You find yourself less interested in distractions and more drawn to quiet reflection or meditation. Social interactions become more intentional and less compulsive, as you no longer seek validation through constant engagement. This doesn't mean withdrawing from life, but living from a place of inner fullness rather than neediness. You become more attuned to the beauty of simplicity, a sunset, a gentle breeze, or the sound of your own breath. These moments become rich and fulfilling because your mind is no longer cluttered with restless thoughts and conflicting desires. Another clear indicator of progress is a deeper sense of detachment from the outcomes of your actions. You realize that personal doership is an illusion and that life unfolds according to its own rhythm. This realization doesn't make you apathetic. Rather, it empowers you to act with clarity and purpose without being weighed down by the pressure of results. You still care about what you do, but you're not consumed by worry or pride. This shift brings a sense of liberation, a lightness in your step, and a calm assurance that you're being guided rather than controlling everything. Finally, as your self-inquiry practice matures, the taste for philosophical debates and intellectual discussions about spirituality diminishes. Instead of analyzing or theorizing, you're drawn to the direct experience of being. You feel an increasing comfort with not knowing and an acceptance of the mystery of existence. The desire for conceptual understanding fades, replaced by a profound appreciation for simply being present. This state of equanimity is not about apathy, but about finding fulfillment in awareness itself. Your progress is not measured by how much you understand, but by how deeply you experience the peace of your true self. Chapter 7. Mantra and Practice. Mantras in Jnana Yoga are not merely repetitive chants. They are powerful tools for centering awareness and dissolving the illusion of the ego. Among the most potent is the simple yet profound mantra, "Who am I?" This question is not just a linguistic phrase. It's a key that unlocks the gateway to self-realization. When used consistently and sincerely, it cuts through the layers of mental conditioning and brings the mind back to the present moment. The purpose of this mantra is not to generate intellectual answers, but to dissolve the false sense of individuality that the ego clings to. It's a relentless inquiry that leaves no room for illusions or superficial identity. The most effective way to practice the mantra is to integrate it seamlessly into your daily routine. You don't need a special place or a ritual to engage with it. While walking, sitting, or even performing mundane tasks, repeat inwardly, "Who am I?" Allow the question to echo through your consciousness without rushing to fill the void with thoughts. When emotions arise, whether it's anger, frustration, or joy, pause and ask, "Who is feeling this?" Let the question cut through the surface reaction and penetrate to the core of awareness. This practice becomes a living meditation, dissolving the ego's narrative in real time. The power of the mantra lies in its simplicity and persistence. The mind will inevitably resist, offering answers or spinning stories to reclaim control. But your task is not to argue or analyze. It's to keep asking, to keep cutting through the mental fog with the sword of inquiry. When practiced consistently, this mantra reveals the undeniable truth. The I that claims ownership of thoughts and actions is nothing more than a phantom. Realizing this brings immense relief and a profound sense of freedom, as you stop identifying with the fleeting experiences and rest in the awareness that witnesses them. Incorporating the mantra into guided meditation can amplify its effectiveness. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and gently breathe. As you inhale, mentally affirm, "Who am I?" As you exhale, let go of any preconceived notions or mental constructs. Allow the question to dissolve into the stillness between breaths. Whenever thoughts intrude, don't resist them. Simply redirect your focus back to the mantra. Over time, this practice builds a powerful momentum where the question becomes second nature, effortlessly guiding your awareness back to the source. To make the practice even more effective, set an intention before you begin. For example, dedicate the session to uncovering the true self rather than merely calming the mind. Use reminders throughout the day, a simple note on your phone or a sticky note on your mirror that reads, "Who am I?" This consistent engagement with the mantra rewires your habitual patterns, making self-inquiry not just a practice but a way of life. The mantra becomes your silent companion, always guiding you back to the still, silent awareness that is your true nature. Chapter 8. The Self is not the thinker but the awareness. Self-inquiry is not a one-time realization, but a continuous, living practice. It's not enough to intellectually grasp the idea that the ego is an illusion. You must consistently embody that understanding through direct experience. The desire for freedom from the false I must burn with unwavering intensity, guiding every thought, action, and intention. As long as the sense of personal doership lingers, the practice must go on. The beauty of this path lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require rituals, pilgrimages, or complex doctrines. All it demands is a relentless dedication to questioning the root of identity and abiding in the awareness that follows. Freedom from the false I is not a destination. It's an ongoing realization that deepens with practice. Even as glimpses of the true self become more frequent, the ego can subtly reassert itself through pride or complacency. The practice of asking, "Who am I?" must continue even after profound realizations, maintaining the vigilance needed to prevent the mind from reclaiming control. Self-inquiry is a journey of shedding layers, not accumulating knowledge. It's about experiencing life from a state of pure awareness, untouched by the stories the mind constructs around identity and personal importance. To integrate self-inquiry into everyday life, develop the habit of spontaneous questioning whenever the ego tries to assert itself. Whether it's in moments of pride, anger, jealousy, or confusion, pause and ask, who is feeling this? Who claims this experience? Don't just settle for a surface answer. Dive deeper, noticing how the mind fabricates ownership. This habitual inquiry keeps the ego from solidifying and maintains a fluid state of awareness. Practice doesn't mean sitting cross-legged for hours, but staying alert in the midst of your daily activities. When self-inquiry becomes a natural response, freedom becomes a lived reality rather than a distant goal. A powerful way to deepen your practice is to combine the mantra, "Who am I?" with meditation. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take slow, deliberate breaths. As each thought arises, gently counter it with a question. Notice how thoughts lose their power when met with sincere questioning. If the mind goes silent, don't rush to fill the gap. Rest in that silence. The goal is not to reach a specific state, but to remain attentive to the presence that exists beyond thought. This is the essence of Jnana Yoga, the direct realization that the self is not the thinker, but the awareness in which thoughts arise and dissolve. Remember, the The practice of self-inquiry is not about forcefully eliminating thoughts, but about understanding their nature. It's the realization that awareness itself is never tainted or disturbed by what passes through it. As your dedication deepens, peace becomes your natural state, and the restless seeking of the ego gradually fades. You come to know that your true self is not something to be found, but something to be realized as ever present. This realization is not just freedom from suffering, but liberation into your inherent nature, pure, limitless awareness. Conclusion: the more you practice, the clearer it becomes. You've just uncovered one of the most profound truths about existence, that your sense of self is not the thoughts you think, the roles you play, or the story you tell yourself. It's not the fleeting emotions or the ego's constant chatter. Your true self is the awareness that watches it all without attachment or judgment. Now that you've glimpsed this reality, it's time to make it your living truth. Self-inquiry is not just a practice, it's a way of being. It's about constantly questioning the false I and allowing the realization of pure awareness to guide every action, thought, and feeling. Think about how your life changes when you stop identifying with the false self. Fear loses its grip, pride becomes irrelevant, and the need for validation fades away. You move through life with a sense of lightness and freedom, no longer burdened by the ego's endless demands. This is the liberation that Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj spoke of, a liberation that doesn't come from gaining something new, but from shedding what was never real in the first place. You don't need to become enlightened. You just need to stop identifying with the illusion of the thinker. Now it's your turn to put this knowledge into practice. Start small. Dedicate a few minutes each day to the mantra, "Who am I?" Don't force answers. Just let the question dissolve into presence. Notice how the ego tries to reassert itself, and stay vigilant against its tricks. Make self-inquiry a constant companion, not just a fleeting exercise. Let it permeate your daily actions, your conversations, your moments of solitude. The more you practice, the clearer it becomes that your essence is not limited to the mind's constructs. You are pure, unbounded awareness, timeless and untouched by the stories of the ego. So, are you ready to break free from the illusion of self and live from a place of unwavering peace? This journey demands dedication, but the reward is nothing short of absolute freedom. Drop a comment below and share how this practice resonates with you. How do you experience the false I in your own life? And how does questioning it change your perspective? Let's build a community of seekers dedicated to unveiling the truth together. If this content resonates with you, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay connected with more transformative teachings. Your journey doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. Keep questioning, keep discovering, and let your true self shine through.